was some really great timing. In fact, I already had it all queued up. Look at that.
You're off to the races today. I love it.
We're off to the races. I just got back from New Jersey. I literally went from like 7 degrees to 70 degrees. Actually, this weekend's 80 degrees.
Oh my
So
gosh, dude.
it was,
Gotta love that SoCal, dude.
yeah.
It's I'll tell you what. I didn't truly appreciate it until I was out of the till I left it behind.
How
Classic.
was the storm for Texas? Did you go without power for another 3 weeks? Well, clearly not because
No.
you
I
talked.
mean, it was surprisingly, you know, significantly better than than the some of the last go arounds. I think we missed the um, major hit, at least in my immediate area.
Well,
So
that's good.
crazy ice. Like we had like 2 days, 3 days of just still everything shut down. Like 2 to 3 inches of ice that just
Really?
would not go away. Like you couldn't drive, nothing. Um, like it was. I mean, it was gnarly. Not to not to downplay it.
When I think
But
Texas, I don't think you think hot. You think
yeah, that's
dry.
what I thought I signed up for when I moved here. I was like, yeah, I'm I'm okay. Like I'm accepting of hot. And then like I got here the first winter and it snowed. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you still get
um,
that in the summer.
yeah, I mean it's still hot, which I've acclimated to, quite well. But I don't love like clockwork. Like once a year, January or February, we'll get a good cold front that'll run through, and it'll be freezing for a week or so, and then next thing you know, it just starts to pick right back up, and spring hits, and back to good times.
Yeah. So last week, you and I talked a lot about what's going on in precious metals, and although that doesn't directly kind of go into what you and I normally talk about when it comes to technology and lead generation and business, I think it does affect it indirectly to that. Um, what's happening in gold and what's happening more probably, gold's a big deal being over 5,000, but I think what's even a bigger deal is that silver is over like 100.
I
And
thought I saw it get up to like $1.10
oh
the other
yeah, yeah,
day.
it's well over 100. Let's see what it is. It's currently trading at yeah, 110.
Jeez,
It's been fluctuating between 99 and 118.
that
And then
is insane.
gold is current. It did a little bit of a sell off. It's 5,092.
Got some profit taken, huh?
Yeah, but I was talking to one of the parents of the flag football team that I coach, 10th, fourth grade,
Yeah.
and we were just going through the normal getting to know you. Hey, what do you do? Because I was traveling, and then I said, well, what do you do? Because he goes back and forth as well, and he oversees a company that does flooring and countertops. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So, how are things going? He's like, well, um, volume's down, but prices are up. I'm like, well, that sounds just like inflation. I'm like, have, and
Sounds
I
like the
asked him
real estate
about,
market.
yeah. And I asked him, I'm like, well, there's like a third fewer homes that are selling. And then just the headlines just hit that the number of cancellations for this month has exceeded anything on record. I might be misreading that quote. That was just something I just saw on the headlines. I haven't really dug into it, but it seems,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the most cancellations in February to date or if it's just to date, so I'd have to kind of dive into that. But whichever metric it is, that's a lot.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, yeah, it is affecting it. And then I brought up Texas because you're in Texas, and he's like, the weird thing is we talked about Texas because Texas is off 20%, and because he brought up California, and we're starting to see things soften in California.
Right.
And my response was, well, look, everything's affecting each different market's different. Florida, a lot of places in Florida, a lot of places in Texas are off 20%. He goes, really? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I have a distributor or someone in Texas, and they think that they've gotten past the hard part of things. I'm like, man, everybody has a different definition of hard.
Yeah, I think Austin's pretty much. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say that it's stabled off. So like good 20% haircut, and um, it's interesting to see because they actually like so during COVID, there was a obviously huge migration to the Austin market, and they, surprisingly enough, like actually like went in and started a lot of developments, a lot of rentals and stuff. So the rental market is insane. Like it's more affordable now to rent than before COVID here. Just because they had all the supply started coming online for all the projects that they were kicking off then, and then you saw a lot of like remigration, like for all like tons of folks that like came here like, well, actually no, I don't love this place as much but as I thought I was going to. So demand dipped, and supply started coming online. So good time to pick up some rental units. That's
Well, the interesting
while the
thing
market's
is
soft.
that President Trump has come out saying that he wants to keep prices up. He wants to make sure that people have their equity, but then he also wants to make sure that people can afford things. And so it's like, well, those two things typically can't exist in the same universe. It's like, do you want things to be affordable? Now, affordable being that it's not artificially affordable.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, let's do a 90 year, 100 year. No one's talked about 100 year,
Right.
but they talked about a 40 and a 50-year mortgage, which is basically a land lease, because now you're actually when your loan, if you're not buying a house until you're like 20 something years old and your loan is like 50 years, and so for
Right.
the lifetime of your time, you're like land leasing is really what you're kind of
Yeah.
doing. And then also, look, I think that the whole interest rate thing is lowering interest rates lower. They might they might lower rates. I don't see how they can without increasing quantitative easing, and then inflation just goes even more haywire. So it's like, it's interesting now that we're older and there's all this life experience that we have, and there was a time that you and I were really, really just looking at gold and silver and precious metals, and you really start seeing how things are
Right.
interconnected. You pull on this lever and it affects over here, and it's
Hmm.
just it's this balancing act.
Yeah.
Peter
It,
Schiff has
it,
been really vocal in regards to President Trump's policies.
yeah. Well, I mean, and then you take a, a a look at a picture from like even a broader term, and you like look at like our total national debt, and you're like, all right, well, this is impossible to pay back. So one of the only ways to accomplish that is having weaker currency, which in turn, you know,
And to the Swiss franc,
I
we
mean, if
are
you're,
pretty weak.
yeah, I mean that's by design, right? It's feature, not a feature, not a bug at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
and that leads into some of the things that I'm doing. I was sitting through a presentation in regards to, I guess, AEO. There's a lot of different terms going around for SEO, and my source that I typically follow when it comes to search engine optimization is Neil Patel. I think that dude's
Hmm.
been around for a long time. He's been very successful in it. He's, you know, his whole thing is, I've said this before, is what's old again is new again. You just have to do things a little bit different.
Right.
And a lot of what I'm seeing in the real estate industry is that they're saying you've got, you know, they're assuming that people are going and just using Chat GPT and AI for search. And what Neil is saying is no, consumers are still going to Google, and yes, there's AI tied into it, but
Right.
just because AI came out has not changed consumer behavior, especially people who actually have income. When you're
Yeah.
looking at people who are buying a house, you're looking in the mid 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They're not the ones who are engaging in AI. Your ideal client is still going to Google. I'm still going to Google. Now,
Yeah.
I probably use more AI for our age group, and you too, than the average person in our age group. So if we're going to take
Right.
us out of the equation and just take, you know, say the 10% out of the equation, they're like us, and you look at our group as a whole, I would say that their behaviors haven't really changed much. They're just
Right.
using AI that's getting implemented into it. But you know, his thing is, as I'm developing out these different agent courses for growth, it's like, number one, your long form content should be on YouTube. Number two, you take that long form content, you make it into a blog. You need to be on Facebook because our demographic, the people who have money, are still on Facebook.
Yep.
Uh, Google pay per click. You know, and then he started talking about workspaces. I know that you have a Google Workspace account, and he compared Google Workspace or Gemini versus ChatGPT and everyone else. Well, everyone else is a paid model. They have to profit based on the service. Google's not operating like that. Google's just
Right.
increasing value to drive people into their ecosystem.
Right.
So, you know, I'm gonna have to err, not err on his side. I'm gonna have to be in that camp. We're in the browser wars again, and just kind of seeing who's going to be coming out of this. But I genuinely feel that if you're not creating long form content on YouTube and then turning it into a blog and then
Yeah.
using Facebook, quite honestly, for our age group, TikTok, I don't know. Are you pretty heavy on TikTok? Are you getting a lot of conversions from that in our demographic?
Um, I haven't been pushing a lot of uh pushing a lot. One thing I will when I was going pretty heavy on it there, the demographic was exactly the same as Facebook.
Hmm.
For
Interesting.
my metrics, like you could hold them up. Like when I pulled the data, like and put them side by side, they were almost identical. Um, so I mean, obviously, you know, TikTok's got an insane algorithm, so my content resonates with a, a certain certain demo, so it naturally found its way to the right people. But yeah, it was, I mean, spitting like a mirror image. You could, I was like, oh shoot. So yeah, there. But I would say for like platform wise, for folks, like absolutely YouTube long form. That's a long term strategy. Facebook and Instagram, are two, got to be on platforms for mortgage real estate folks. Um, the built-in communication capacity for both of those platforms is just so valuable for the average person, for the average
You know, quite
agent and
honestly, if you're
lender.
going to use the strategy where you're going to build YouTube as your long form content, take that long form content, turn it into a blog, and then you're going to cut it up and then use social media as distribution methods, more the merrier. Like,
Yeah.
you
Oh
should
yeah.
be using Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and a version of LinkedIn, depending on what your demographic is. I mean, why not? Now, it does take time. It takes time to really understand the way you cut it up. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a thing. You know, for instance, YouTube has a for a short, you have to have it's no more than 90 seconds. Whereas Instagram and TikTok, I mean, Instagram's more lenient. I actually think they eliminated the time commitment. You know, X just came up and just they're trying this whole multi media
Yeah.
setup now, where you have video and you have, it's X has evolved so much
Yeah, it
beyond
really has.
what Twitter. I can't believe people still call it Twitter.
Old habits die hard, right? Like it's
I
just
don't know if it's just a sign of they're just not Elon Musk fans, and so that's their
right.
defiance in them, or if they just genuinely and like it's been so long. It's been a few years now,
Yeah.
longer than a few
Yeah,
years.
it's a funny a funny thing to take note on. Like I don't normally say talk about it much like out loud. Um, but you know, I'm avid user, avid consumer on it. I'm not a poster, which I should be because they have an insane functionality share function directly to Instagram. Like any tweets you do, you can like one click share to Instagram.
I didn't know that. So you can
Um,
now put, you know, that's another thing that Neil Patel said is that don't be sending people off of the platform. Don't be
yeah,
sending people
yeah.
to a landing page. That was the big thing that you build a landing page and you drive everything to the landing page. But even if you put it into comments, now it's like people have
Keep
to
people
engage
on
in the
platform.
comments. Yeah.
Yep. Engage. Uh, I'm a big advocate of that. Of like, or big proponent, especially with like a lot of my folks I work with. Like, keep it in. They're gonna reward you for keeping things on platform. And that kind of circles back to my comment earlier where it was like, um, the messaging capacity in um, Facebook and Instagram, like you can create the engagement on your feed, but then you have the capacity to sell one to one.
Yeah.
You can promote one to many, but sell one to one right there,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Well,
cool.
and then the X platform, he's going to turn into the whole banking system that he had initially thought of prior to when he
Right.
was doing PayPal. Have you read his
Yeah,
book, the biography, or listened to
I have
his
not.
biography? Uh, it's long. It's really long. Even if you're listening to it, it's probably like right up there with War and Peace. But I would encourage
And the
that
story's only halfway over,
it only
hopefully.
goes up to him. It's like 5 years old. Let me see. So it was
That's
Walter
wild.
Isaacson. So let's see
Man, I
when it
hope
was
that dude
published.
lives forever because he's a gift. Um, so while you're looking that up, I'll just inject some. Have you checked out Claudebot or OpenClaw?
I wanted to thank you for bringing that up because I wanted to talk to you about Claude Code. I wanted to talk to you about Claude Bot, and I also wanted to talk to you about this Claude because I have that one I don't know, but I sense that you've gone through and you've fiddled with them, and I'd love to. My understanding
I
is that they're fully agentic.
I'm in the process of uh, jumping into OpenClaw right now. Claudebot, which became Moltbot, which is now, as of yesterday or today, OpenClaw, because it's not of Claude. So there's
Oh,
some
it's
some
not.
name changes there. No.
Oh,
But yes, it
whole
is
different company.
totally different company.
Okay. Well, yeah, their
Um,
initial branding launch was probably
yeah,
someone probably got
yeah.
bad for that.
Maybe a strategic whoopsie there. Um, but yeah. So I'm not up and running on it yet, but I've started like setup process. Got a separate standalone for it, and looking to launch it. My goal with it is really just to be able to um, not replace employees, but replace them, and then allocate their time
Replace
elsewhere.
their time, replace their activities for the
Yeah,
employee. And I think that's the
yeah,
key thing here. I was just talking to Dana, and there's my sister-in-law in Dubai. She has a live-in nanny
yeah,
and housekeeper nanny. I mean, whatever you call it. And she's for a month every year they go. She gets to go take vacation, and there was a challenge bringing in somebody last time to be another live-in because they don't know it was more headache than when it's worse, and so she's not going to do it again.
yeah.
And I said that's why I always say two is one, one is none. I'm like, you always want to have a redundant. And my thought process on this, how it relates to what we're talking about, is there are these activities that are being done by a
Hmm.
human that if that human disappears, you don't no longer have somebody trained up to do it, even if you have a mapped out system.
Right.
Now, at this point, and I haven't dove into Claude, I think we're getting there. Elon Musk just announced that they're not going to be making any more Tesla X or S's. They're going to stick with the Y and the threes, and they're going to do that so they can actually repurpose for the development of the Optimus robot. That by itself blows my mind. Like,
Damn.
and Robotaxi. So
Right.
this is going to be like the last year that you can actually get a brand new S or X or whatnot, and in the future you're just going to be chauffeured around. But right now there needs to be human intervention. Like I'm working on the Semper Rucking log, and I
Yeah.
tried using these no codes, and they're promoted as, hey, you don't need to know anything. You just tell it what you want. Well, from a UI standpoint, yeah, but it doesn't do the interconnected things, and it doesn't answer. So you actually have to have
There's some
somebody
troubleshooting.
train it. Yeah, you have to have some troubleshooting. In
Yeah.
fact, I don't want to turn this into like an Elon Musk thing, but his whole thing is that, oh no, it was Nvidia, that they don't have programmers anymore. They have editors. So
Yeah.
AI is writing all of the base code, and then the humans are the ones who are actually going through and editing it, which is kind of what I'm doing here. I'm using
Right.
ChatGPT. I'm using Glide right now, and I have ChatGPT, and I'm just working back and forth, having that human
Right.
consciousness in the middle. But if I didn't understand logic and a lot of these other things, I don't.
Yeah.
A layman couldn't do it, but I think we'll get there. I don't think we're there yet, though.
Yeah. No, there's I mean I think a lot of like what's coming out will, people will make it into instances that is consumable for your average person, where you can just engage with it from like a very, very basic user interface standpoint, almost like that aha moment when ChatGPT launched, where it was just like
Yeah,
so user friendly that like everybody, you just got it, right? There
yeah,
wasn't a learning curve. You open it up, you're so used to just chatting, texting all day long, that you did that and you're like, okay, I know how to use this now,
yeah.
at a basic level. So yeah,
And boy, have we come a long way since that launch of initial Chat GPT.
yeah,
I'm really intrigued to see how much more Gemini does. Like a lot of these, and Grok too, because it has the most processing power than any other AI on the
yeah.
planet right now.
So I had this like, uh, I had this thought process the other day where, um, because I've been using Google products significantly more recently, and it was almost this kind of like epiphany, like aha moment. I was like, man, like they are they're positioned to absolutely crush this AI market, and like, but they couldn't. And kind of like my thought process on that was like, but they couldn't just do it right out of the gate.
Yeah.
They couldn't just come and just like, oh, OpenAI, you're doing that. Oh, we have Gemini.
But that's all they do though. OpenAI, they
Right.
they're not a startup, but they were a startup,
Yeah.
and that was their focus.
Yeah. So it
Same
was
thing
like,
with Grok.
they had to. It was like almost like they had to like quietly behind. Like they don't make any big announcements. Like really, when when they release a lot of like their products and things that they're doing, it's just a very quiet, soft launch. Um,
Well,
I'm fairly plugged in, and it's like, I I I will be like, whoa, where did this thing come from? How long has this been around?
well, I mean, when you look and see what all comes with Google Workspace, you get Gemini, you get Gmail, you get Calendar, you get Meet, um, and I'm paying like $12 a month per user.
Right.
Maybe it's $16 a month. It's less than 20. I can't remember how much.
Have you tried out Notebook LM yet?
I have. You get Notebook LM, and I like Notebook LM because it just uses your source material.
Right.
On the Semper-Ruck homepage, I actually took the source material, and part of that is the interview, them going back and forth talking about it. So thought that was pretty cool.
Well, there you go. I plugged that last week, right? So way to take action.
No, you plugged that a while ago.
Okay.
It took me a second to, I got a lot of things going on, man. I'm having a hard time just. I don't know how well, these people who run multiple companies. Yes, they have a lot of different help for it, but like, I still have a family that I need to give attention to, and
Yep.
there's just so many hours in the day, and there are times where I just get mentally. I try to persevere through it, and I think I can grunt my way through for the most part. But like yesterday, I left New Jersey, 6 a.m. flight. So Pacific Standard Time, that's 3 a.m. So I had to get there at like 2 a.m. So I had to wake up at 1 a.m.
Right.
Mechanical issues.
Okay.
Got on the plane, got off the plane, got on the plane, sat for like an hour and a half, got off the plane, sat for an hour and a half, got back on a different plane, and and then I did a 6-hour drive. But the cool thing was I was working most of that 6 hours, and they did upgrade me to first class, so that worked out.
Hey.
But man, it's just I just have these like little check boxes, or my to-do list, and I have a very methodical way out, and I just work on things, and I'm just always trying to inch forward.
I picked up a low ticket offer a couple weeks ago on like ADHD management, because it's like just see if I can pull any good solid, like, how to essentially at the end of the day, like, manage that overwhelm where you're trying to do like so much stuff but still be productive type of deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm really liking some of the just basic Google Calendar stuff. So it's like the using Google Calendar, but the built-in tasks directly into the Google Calendar. You create the tasks in there, schedule them right on the calendar. So it's like write it, rank it, schedule it. So you do whatever it is, schedule a specific time to get it done. Just wildly, it's been probably one of the best productivity tool like methods that I've tried. The everything from like Pomodoro to like time boxing and stuff.
So you like this one? Shoot me a link on that. Let me check that out.
Yeah.
I do schedule activities. So I do already do something like that, but Google Calendar, the new organization that I'm now part of, they operate on Google Workspace as opposed to Microsoft. So I'm pretty excited.
That's
about
awesome.
That too. Yeah.
All right, man. I got to rock and roll. I got to top of the hour.
Catch up to you next week.
Have a good one, brother.
Bye.